Time for the French newspapers. François Montanez with us here on set. You're talking about this television interview to start with, don't you? That François Hollande, the new president, of course, gave on Bastille over the weekend. The challenges that are facing him. That's
right. We're going to start by looking at the right-leaning newspaper Le Figaro with a photo of François Hollande giving that interview on Saturday, and it says "Les impôts c'est maintenant, taxes are now." So a play on words on François Hollande's campaign slogan, which was "Change is now." Now, in their editorial, Le Figaro focuses on one of the big hot topics that's facing the government right now, which is the PSA, Peugeot Citroën, and the group's decision to shut down a historic factory just outside of Paris and lay off about 8,000 workers. Now, Le Figaro says that this is the big headache that's facing the government, and it points out that during the interview in their editorial, it says that François Hollande was very tough and aggressive, and he said that the government won't accept this group's decision. It's inacceptable, but l'édito of the Figaro says that these are just words, and in fact, the government doesn't really have all that much room for maneuver. Now, the issue is also on the cover of the communist newspaper L'Humanité, which calls it the first real test, the baptism of fire for the government. And in their editorial, they point out that this is in fact a hot potato that was handed to François Hollande from the former president Nicolas Sarkozy. But they point out a subtle point that's important for them, which is that Hollande says that he won't accept Peugeot Citroën redundancy plan as it is. So according to them, it points out that he wants to improve it, but he doesn't want to stop it altogether. And for them, that's a very important issue, a very important detail. And they said that it's necessary for the government to intervene to stop this, and the government can't mess up on this one.
And according to the business daily Les Echos, this is far from being a problem just for PSA or for France.
That's right. They say there's an interesting article that points out that this is facing this is an issue for Europe's automobile industry as a whole. The whole industry is worried that there could be a wave of painful restructuring across Europe, and the article wonders if this is the beginning of a trend that's going to hit the EU. And it says that this could actually be a necessary step for the automobile industry because Europe has been dragging its feet somewhat to modernize its system, and especially compared to the United States, which also faced a very serious crisis, but it kind of made the U.S. auto industry restructure itself. And so many factories, according to this article, aren't being used to their full capacity, and this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And it says that Fiat and Opel could be next.
And left-leaning paper Libération, they're focusing on something completely different. They're talking about Syria today.
That's right. They have an exclusive report at what they call the heart of the rebellion in the north of Syria on the border with Turkey, which is a strategic area for smuggling weapons. And there you see it. It says, "We will fight until the very end." And in their editorial, they focus on the fact that Syria keeps falling short of the Arab Spring. After 16 months of rebellion and repression and massacre, Bashar al-Assad is still in power. They point out that the reason for this is that Syria is very different from other countries that experienced the Arab Spring, like Egypt, Tunisia, Yemen, and Libya. For instance, Bashar al-Assad has set up this very particular system where a small Alawite minority controls all the big pillars of power, and also including within this country there's a huge mosaic of other minorities, and so this is what makes Syria a very particular situation. But according to Libération and the editorial, the country is on the brink of the abyss, and with his back against the wall, Bashar al-Assad is ready to sacrifice his country to stay in power.
And one other story which is around in the French newspaper today is horrific. This is a horrific anniversary, really. The Catholic paper Le Croix focusing on this dark chapter in France's history.
That's right. It was called La Rafle du Veldiv, and here it looks at the children of Le Veldiv. Now, July 16th and 17th marks this horrible, the 70th anniversary, which is of the Veldiv roundup, when 13,152 Jewish men, women, and children that were living in Paris were rounded up by French police, and they were kept in the Veldiv, which is a stadium that used to be not far from our studio here in Paris, and before being shipped off to Auschwitz. Now, like Croix, as I said, was interviewing some of these very rare survivors, and Le Parisien has a very sad statistic, which, according to a poll that was carried out by the French Union for Jewish Students, 60% of 18 to 24-year-olds have never even heard of the Rafle du Veldiv. Now, Jewish organizations say that they're worried about this incredible ignorance, especially because they say that anti-Semitism is on the rise here in France.
Horrific story, ending the press review with Florence Villemot. Thanks very much.